আহিছে প্ৰিন্সিপাল ছাৰ।
আছো মই।
আছে।
Principal,
আছো।
may I start?
Yeah.
Very good morning to all of you, particularly Professor Awanikumar Bhagwati sir, Dr. Haruhisha Asada from Japan, Dr. S. Sanjeevi Prasad from University of Madras, Chennai, my colleagues, Honorable President of the governing body, Dr. Vinay Kumar Nath, Principal, GOALPARA College, all my colleagues, Dr. Anjam Singh Barmiya, Dr. Dulal Gurua, and all participants within the state, from the state, and outside the country and within the country. In a very good morning of this 17th August 2020 at 11:02, I, on behalf of GOALPARA College fraternity, welcome you all to the virtual platform of GOALPARA College. We have 3 resource persons for today's webinar. Professor Bhagwati sir will be the keynote speaker, and Dr. Haruhisha Asada and Dr. Sanjeevi Prasad will be the resource person. Now, as for the formality, I welcome our Honorable Principal, Dr. Subhash Barman, to inaugurate the program and welcome the guests. Over to Dr. Subhash Barman, Principal, GOALPARA College.
Good morning, everyone. Respected Professor Awanikumar Bhagwati of Guwahati University, eminent academician, our President Governing Body, Dr. B.K. Nath, Professor Haru Achada from Japan, Dr. Prasad from Chennai, and all my esteemed colleagues, esteemed participants. This is a very, very important and significant moment for us. You all know that the whole world is witnessing pandemic COVID-19, and it started in December from Wuhan in China, and in our country, in India, the impact has become more severe since 22nd March 2020. Since then, the whole country witnessed lockdown and series of closures. All college universities and almost all sectors of life have been disrupted by this pandemic. And for this onslaught, we all were not prepared. But during this time, we can't stop our education planning. So we have been continuing our education planning, and within certain limitations, we are working. But yes, this pandemic has marginalized people, and particularly those who are living at the bottom. They have been witnessing the severity of the pandemic, of the problem. But at the same time, like, Second World War, we have learned a lot of things from this pandemic. And from this pandemic, we lost a lot of things, and people have traumatic experience. But at the same time, we learned a lot of things. And particularly, we have seen that this is a period that saw the change of or a transformation of pedagogy. We can't replace classroom teaching, but to a large extent, we can go for a blended way of teaching learning. So we have seen that during this period, another very important possibility has become visible, and that have been used by college universities. That is, people from different parts of the world who are highly knowledgeable persons who are expert in different fields. Such people have been invited for webinar. Earlier, for inviting a professor from Japan, it would have been very difficult because we have to spend a lot of money, then other things and time. But this pandemic taught us that earlier also we had those video conferencing meeting and those things. But during this period, I think in almost all parts of the world, and particularly in our region, in our college also, we have been organizing, I think this is 20th webinar. So we have been organizing series of webinars on different issues on COVID-19, its impact on economy, on health, on different issues. But this is the webinar, which is a very, very significant webinar. Why so? Because this is a webinar that going to talk about the impact of COVID-19 on India and Japan. And India has a very, we have a historic relation with Japan. And our experience and experience of Japanese people are quite similar. On the other hand, both these two countries, particularly from India, our students, our teachers, we need a lot of things from your country. Even whatever I have gone through in newspaper and magazines and through digital mode also, we have seen that the onslaught of this COVID-19 has been very less in Japan because people maintain hygienic and people are very clean. That is a very important, a very good thing about Japan. And technologically, you are progressing. You have made huge strides. So, but on the other hand, India is a robust country with a robust economy. So we can work together, and our students need exposure to your science, technology, and development. And I'm sure that the students from Japan or a person from university or colleges, they will also have a lot of things to learn from this country. So this is a world, this is a global world where we have to work together for even for fighting against the COVID-19 also. So with these few words, I welcome Professor from Japan, Professor Asada. Then we have a very, very knowledgeable and grad scholar, Professor Dr. Prasad from Chennai, and from our Northeast India, who has been consistently working for academic upliftment, and at the same time, issues concerning our society and environment. Professor Abani Kumar Bhagavati is also here, so I welcome him also. With these few words, I once again welcome all our esteemed participants, resource persons, and I express my gratitude to Dr. Binoy Kumar Nath for his kind advice and guidance during this period. So with these few words, I once again request Dr. Sharma, who is the core organizer of this webinar, Dr. Sharma, to go ahead.
Thank you, Principal Dr. Barman. Now, may I request our Honorable President of the Governing Body, Dr. Binoy Kumar Nath, to speak a few words towards this webinar. Yes, sir.
Respected Principal, Dr. Subhash Barman, respected Vice Principal, Dr. Sharma, most respected our resource person, Dr. Abani Kumar Bhagavati, also respected Dr. Haruis Asad from Japan, and we have Dr. Sanjeeva Prasad, other colleagues, Anjam, Dora Boshimutari, Dhananjay, and our lone lady organizer, Hasna back home. I really express my extreme pleasure in attending these webinars. And the geography department is very alive with this type of academic activities. I have also earlier attended one more webinar organized by geography department. So I really am proud of this college. I am the alumni of this college, also at present president governing body. I am proud because that this college is actually leading college, taking the leadership, academic leadership, not only in GOALPARA district, but in whole of Assam, and not to speak of Northeast. I really endorse my gratitude to all the faculty members and principal, especially principal. So this today's webinar is very important, uh, discussing an important topic in Japan and the impact of coronavirus in Japan, India, and Assam. Actually, Japan was exposed to Second World War, and after that, Japan has become the foremost country in the world in technology, in industrial development, in trade, commerce, and in education as well. So this is an example. Japan has shown to the world that any type of disaster has positive impact, and we must be in a position to avail the positivities that any adversities bring forth. And this coronavirus, which is caused by SARS-CoV-2, is unprecedented global health concern. This earlier was First World War, Second World War, there were alliances. Here there is only coronavirus and the whole planet. The people of all the countries of this world, on the one side, the other side is coronavirus. And we are fighting, and Professor Asada, Dr. Asada will definitely speak how Japan survived, sustained, and become the foremost country after Second World War, after this great disaster, and now they will also win the race. And here, to combat the disease, lockdown in most of the states of India, where confirmed cases reported have been extended till 2020 August, this 31st August till 31st August 2020. And government also has claimed that success in the fight against corona, and hope that we will achieve it in spite of pandemic impact on social, including education, culture, economic, health, and other disasters. So, Corona-19 COVID-19 is associated with lockdown, social and economic envelopment, healthcare problem, various other diseases. Apart from this coronavirus, other diseases are also there. This cancer, this diabetes, the other diseases are also there, and we are fighting with not only coronavirus but also the other diseases. Here, both there is a difference between World War and this coronavirus. In World War, some people were worse affected. Here, both the have and the have not all are affected. Even the big industrialists, they are also badly affected. Even the small daily earners, they are also badly affected. So before this disease, all are equal. Now, our real gross domestic GDP, GDP has lowered down as forecast by IMF to 1.3%, point to 4.8%, whereas our aim was 10%, 9%, 7%. So this is actually acceptable. It has lowered down, but we will have to recover very early so that our behavior, the social behavior, the individual behavior, the company behavior, the economic behavior, this will have to be changed. And that has changed a lot. During this current pandemic, though there is economic downturn affecting people of SCS, is called Socio-Economic stratum, where migrant laborers have traversed from place of work to their native place, remittances of money to home, which these migrant workers used to do. And there is increased impoverishment, intensified economic distress. Even there is social distress also. The artists, they cannot perform their performance. These, apart from those things, these small traders, small industrialists, big industrialists, all are badly affected. This pandemic is likely to affect more severely in rural areas. In this manner, there is increase in poverty, there is pushing more people below the poverty line, and worsening of socio-economic inequalities, because poor are becoming more poor at rapid rate. These are also handicapped, these are also facing distresses, but poor are facing more at more rapid rate. So these inequalities are increasing. Then health and nutritional indexes has affected. Then there are other impacts in social activities, in economic activities, in academic activities, everywhere. Now, actually, we in India have some problems. Problems are that the social fabric of India has some interdependence, both emotional and economic, within families, relatives, and friends. So, close to this physical interaction, like living in crowded housing and other places, pushing, jostling, extreme extremely common, and are deterrent to social distancing, actually we are facing a lot during this pandemic. Lockdown has caused weight gain. Lockdown has actually uh, increased calorie defense than food. Lockdown has increased our other diseases also, diabetes like that, and they are prone to this corona attack also. So malnutrition has increased. On the other hand, daily wage earners, their income has increased. Joblessness has been very difficult. Considering the importance of agriculture, its allied activities like veterinary, dairy, fishery sectors in Assam state has been very calamitous. And we have seen that in Assam, there is another industry, that is tea industry, that has been seriously affected because of lockdown, and also because of close down of their international market in China, Japan, or other countries. This uh, export has, it is not only in India but elsewhere also in the world, this export and this has badly suffered. Now we have become independent economy and closed economy, and envelope. This is called envelope economy, and we had to be envelope economy, closing our exports and also imports. So there are some positive aspects also. The engaging initiative, uh, promoting yoga practices, skill formation, which means to build up life skills, instill positive values, build resilience in the face of difficult situations, and ultimately contributing to crime prevention also. Hope that we'll avail the positivity and will win like Japan stood and win in Second World War. Hope that this uh, webinar will focus on different aspects and activities that is very important for us and critical for us. Hope the webinar is successful. Thank you, Dr. Sharma.
Thank you, Nacho, for your valuable speech. And now may I invite our Honorable Professor Avani Kumar Bhagwati sir. And before giving his lecture, I should have to introduce something, introduce Professor Bhagwati sir. But I don't know whether I will be able to, or not. Bhagwati sir? Bhagwati sir? Bhagwati sir?
Okay, I am here.
Sir, wait for a minute. I have to introduce you to the audience.
Yes.
Professor
No problem. Okay.
Professor Avani Kumar Bhagwati sir graduated from RJW College under Guwahati University, securing first position in geography and also the best graduate in arts from Guwahati University in 1976. It is to be noted that he is the first best graduate with geography subject under Guwahati University. After completing post-graduation from Guwahati University, he served as a lecturer in Bajali College, Patshala for a short period, and Durham College, Tezpur for a few years. During that time, I was also a student of Durham College. After joining the Guwahati University, he was selected for Commonwealth Fellowship in 1993 and undergone a training program at Commonwealth Institute of London on Geography and Environment. During the tenure of his fellowship, he had visited a number of universities of United Kingdom, including Oxford, Cambridge, University of Edinburgh, and interacted with the renowned geographers of the world. within these universities. Professor Bhagwati sir traveled widely to USA, Thailand, Myanmar, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan in different occasions. Under the able guidance and supervision of Professor Bhagwati sir, 14 scholars have already obtained PhD degree and some scholars are doing research under his supervision. Professor Bhagwati sir contributed more than 50 research papers and more than 40 books, both in Assamese and English language. It is to be noted that Professor Bhagwati sir took the pain to introduce Bhaugolika, a yearly magazine of geography in vernacular medium, to dissipate knowledge of geography not only to the student community but also to the masses. Professor Bhagwati sir also served the Guwahati University as a registrar for a short stint of around 1 year in 2008. The responsibility of preparation of Assam Biodiversity Report, Biodiversity of Assam, Status, Strategy and Action Plan for
Sharma sir.
Dr. Sharma, you
Audio is.
sorry, what happened?
Yeah.
Yes.
No problem. Okay. Professor Bhagwati sir was the president of Assam Science Society and also the president of Institute of Indian Geographers. Presently, he is the president of Northeast India Geographical Society and the professor of geography, Guwahati University. Now, may I request Bhagwati sir to speak as a keynote speaker of this webinar. Bhagwati sir.
Hello.
Bhagwati sir.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Actually, I'm really very, very happy to be associated with this online discourse on a very important topic. GOALPARA College is very close to me, and I am very closely associated with this institution. President of the governing body, Dr. Nath, then the principal of this college, Dr. Burman, my students and coordinator, Dr. Siddhinath Sharma, then Hasna Begum, then other colleagues from the department, Dhananjay, Dr. Dhananjay, then Mr. Basumatari, then Dr. Azam, all my colleagues from the Department of Geography, and also other colleagues from the college, the student participants, and other, respected people who have participated in this particular occasion. And I'm very happy to welcome two young geographers, one from Japan and the other from South India, from the University of Madras. Professor Dr. Haruhisha Asada and Sanjeevi Prasad, Dr. Sanjeevi Prasad. I welcome them, and I do not like to take much time because these two young scholars, I know Asada, and I don't know personally Dr. Prasad, but I know the department. Department of Geography, Madras University is very famous. One of the pioneering departments of the country. And the contribution of the Madras University department is really, very unique and very significant towards development of geography in the country. And this department actually published a journal long back during, I think, maybe 50s. A small size, but then very good quality journal. It was published from Madras University. Therefore, I'm very, very happy that you have invited one colleague from Madras University. I welcome both of them. And particularly Asada. Asada is very much known to most of the geographers from Assam because he was with us in my department here. আৰু মানে মোৰ ঘৰত মানে এসপ্তাহমান আছাদা আছিলে মই from the room I am speaking, he was in this room for about 7-8 days. আৰু অসমীয়া মই শিকাই গৈছিলো আৰু মোৰ এটা মানে হেবিট হ'ল my home I speak the কামৰূপী ল্যাঙ্গুৱেজ মই কামৰূপী এটা কথা পাতো ঘৰত এতিয়া মই কামৰূপীয়া কথাৰ পৰা একেখন যিখন চকীত বহি আছো এইখন মোৰ 90% কনভাৰসেচন মোৰ কামৰূপীয়াত হয় তাৰপিছত মাজে মাজে কোনোবা অতিথি আহিলে মই মান্য ভাষা উজনি অসমৰ ভাষা প্ৰয়োগ কৰো আৰু আজি মানে online discourse and people are participating from outside also, therefore I have to speak in English anyway. I will not take much time, that is the thing. But one very important thing that the impact of COVID-19 on socio-economic activities in Japan and India throughout the world, we have been passing a very bad time, as you all know. And but one thing again, in human history, we have the experience. Our forefathers, they also faced this kind of problem long back. In the medieval period, plague was there, and plague was really very dangerous disease. That is also that was caused by bacteria. So all these diseases, plague, then Ebola, then Spanish flu, then Zika virus, all these are, we call them zoonotic disease because the germ or the microbe that normally cause this kind of disease is passed over by the wild animals to human beings. So therefore we call them zoonotic disease. And plague actually killed around 30% of the population of Europe those days. It was a very serious disease, and still we have this plague. But then the number of casualties is very less now, sometimes 1,500, something like that yearly. Then the Ebola virus was a very dangerous, viral disease. 1976, particularly it occurred. And Ebola is a small stream in Africa. And some of the villages actually first experienced this Ebola viral disease, and therefore this is called Ebola virus. And it killed in Africa particularly. Then Spanish flu, 1918-20, 2 years. In 2 years period, Spanish flu actually killed more than 50 million people. Then World War, as you all know, killed a lot of people. More than 50 million people died because of that. Then another Zika virus. In that way, these kind of things are there. And this is said sometimes that because of our consistent impact, we have been experiencing this kind of disease. And that the microbial diversity in the Earth's ecosystem, microbial diversity is the least known, diversity. Because the microbes means of bacteria and virus, they constitute a very huge, species, huge number of species. And only 4% of the total probable species of microbes are known to the science, only 4%. গতিকে আমাৰ পৃথিৱীত আমি যিমান মানে বায়োলজিক্যাল নলেজ আমি গ্যাদাৰ কৰোঁ তাতকৈ কম গতিকে there is a possibility of experiencing this kind of disease in future also. If we somehow control one viral disease like this, then there may be another. After some time there may be another. Because what will happen particularly, this bacteria and virus, we do not know what will happen in future. We should be very, very careful, and particularly people have realized that the nature-culture relation, that is the human-environment relation, should be much more cordial. There was a time in the ancient period, the medieval period also, people were numerically very small, and they did not have the technology to control nature, and therefore, the relation between nature and culture, that is society and environment, was very cordial. But recently, particularly during the last 300 years, we are experiencing very bad kind of situation arising out of a critical, relation between nature and human culture. As you all know, already throughout the world, 215 lakhs of people are infected in the whole world, and 7.7 lakh people already died. In India also, 25 lakhs people infected and 50,000 people died. In Assam also, we have crossed 75,000, mark. So this is really very covering the entire world. Therefore, we call it pandemic. Anyway, but one thing, speaking geographically, and we are fortunate that some of the geographers, particularly, they tried to study the origin and diffusion of certain diseases. For example, malaria, then tuberculosis, AIDS, all these, some geographers, and the leading geographer, particularly, who in the last part of his life, he is still alive, a renowned geographer for the world, Professor Heggett. Professor Heggett engaged his time in the latter half of his academic life in preparing a class. He used to call it disease atlas. And disease atlas is very, very important because it can detect the origin of certain diseases and how it spreads, and the carriers and barriers of all these diseases. Very interesting. And I think there will be, in future, geographers will try to, map this particular disease, where it originates and how it spreads to other parts of the world. And that is a very interesting thing. And medical science also may be benefited out of this kind of mapping. So our geographers, they will necessarily take some, very laborious step to map out this pandemic. Now, one thing is very clear, that the countries or the societies who are a bit away from so-called, industrial or other kind of development, those countries which are secluded from the global network to some extent, then they are least affected by this disease. Take, for example, some of the island countries, the Pacific, close to Australia. Even New Zealand also, there was, infection of disease. 1,500 people were infected, but they easily controlled, and there is no case now in New Zealand. And many islands, not less than 10, 12 island countries, in Pacific, close to Australia, they are not at all infected. And also the Arctic zone. The Arctic zone, we find about 8 countries. 8 countries, Canada, northern part of Canada, Denmark, Norway, USA means Alaska, particularly in Sweden, Finland, Iceland, Russia. The 8 countries in northern part of fall, within this Arctic zone. And as you all know, the indigenous people are there, including the Eskimo. And this area is also least affected by this particular pandemic. Around India also, if you look at, then Nepal, the total case not more than 22,000. Then in Sri Lanka, very few. In Bhutan, very few. Only few hundred, 200 or something like that. Then within Northeast again, we find Assam is very highly affected, and the hill states, particularly Arunachal, then Nagaland, they are least affected. So you will find a very something to examine the geographical distribution. Which country is more affected? Which country is less affected? Why? Then the country Mongolia, for example, a very distantly located from the sea, and between Russia and China, the Mongolia country is there. And that is also, very least affected. In that way, there is a very interesting thing to be looked from the geographical point of view. So anyway, I will not take much time. But then the main theme of this particular online discourse is to discuss the impact of the COVID-19. So impact will vary. And as a student of geography, I would like to tell you that impact is not even, impact is not similar. No doubt there is some commonalities in the impact side, but then you will find great geographical variation in the impact. So one country maybe may have some other impact, the other country may have some other impact, depending upon the context of that particular country. Population distribution, density, carrying capacity, then their food habit, then their pattern of movement, all these, depending upon these things, and general health, then some genetic things are also there. So in that way, and also how intensely, how they are connected with this global network, all these points are there. So impact is varied, and therefore, but then the certain common things are there. One is the impact on the global population. Global population, as you all know, 7.7 billion, 7,700 million. And already, the casualty is about 7.7 lakh people already died, and many more people will die before there is a complete control of this particular pandemic. So the population will be affected. And I think people will do some serious work on how the world population will be affected by this pandemic. And then, then the impact on economic activities, which is much more important. So the agricultural sector, then any animal husbandry, the great impact is there. Then the industrial activity, very serious impact. Then transport and communication, particularly transport, very serious impact. Then tourism and hospitality sector. So point by point, if we discuss, then many things will emerge. Ultimately, all these economic activities are affected by this pandemic, and there will be, I think, a lot of problems, particularly so far the survival of some people, particularly, as you all know, that out of 7.7 million people, 7,700 million people, around 1,000 million or 1 billion people, they are in the below poverty line. They are poor, and their nutritional level is also very, very poor. So poor people actually constitute 1,000. Before the pandemic, 1,000 people, suffered from poverty and all that. But some of the economists, they have calculated already that this pandemic will ultimately widen the effect of poverty, and another 600 million people. We have already 1,000 million people and below poverty line, and another 600 million people who will be affected by this. They will suffer from poverty and all that. So that is a very, very important point to be considered. That means the section of people who are suffering from poverty, that section will get enlarged. This is very, very important. And as we belong to the the education sector, so therefore it is necessary on our part to also discuss the impact of this pandemic on education. We have ideas about how we are suffering from many kinds of problems arising out of this particular pandemic. And throughout the world, around 1.7 billion, 1,700 million children, they because of lockdown and all that, they have not been able to attend schools, and they have to take up some alternative mechanism for their education and all that. So you'll find some very good research articles already appeared, maybe up to July, then covering the first part of August. Some articles already appeared, and the world organizations, UN and other UNESCO, they are also doing some work on this. And the primary education, then secondary education, and tertiary education. That this sector is suffering like anything. The scenario of higher education, particularly now, there was exchange of people from one country to the other country. Our Asada is there. A lot of Japanese students are there in US and European countries. Chinese students, lot of Chinese students they were imparting education in Western countries, and many Indians also nowadays, they go to European countries and USA. And already many of the students from our country, they were selected for admission, but then they will not know whether they will be able to go there or not. That is all doubtful. In that way, a lot of things are there to be considered, particularly when we discuss the impact of this pandemic on education. And UNESCO, interestingly, how to respond to this crisis. UNESCO has said certain things, and many people know this kind of things, because this kind of situation for the entire world. So therefore, UNESCO actually provided some recommendations. These recommendations are very, very interesting. So the one is choose the most relevant tools. Now alternative tools are there, distance learning and all these things, as you know. So choose the most relevant tools. Then ensure inclusion of distance learning program. Then solution to psychosocial challenges. The psychosocial challenges is also very, very important. Psychological impact, social impact, how to solve these things, particularly among the children and all that. Then planning for study schedule. Planning for study schedule for distance learning. So we'll have to prepare a schedule. And the world is so large. There is a problem of time, day and night and all that. So you will have to prepare a good schedule for alternative education and all that. Then supporting teachers and parents on the use of digital tools. Then blending appropriate approaches. A lot of approaches are there. Alternative approach, many approaches are there, and all approaches are not suitable to all sections of people in all parts of the world. Therefore, we must be able to select the best approach, and sometimes you may have to blend the approaches to make the approach suitable to our own situation, own context. Then developing distance learning rules and monitoring students' learning processes. This is also very important. Then defining the duration of distance learning, creating communities of teachers and parents to enhance interconnections. In this way, these recommendations are very, very interesting recommendations. And as far as possible, are already in different countries of the world, they have adopted certain ways and means to overcome the crisis following this recommendation. Then another point, the impact on society and culture. This is also very, very important. So we will find the cultural scenario of the world after this pandemic. Post-pandemic period, we will find a different kind of culture. This will emerge largely in most parts of the world, and that will be very interesting, and we should be very, very careful. And the question of sustainability is also very, very important. So what kind of mechanism or approaches, or you can say process, that we will develop to respond to this crisis, to overcome this crisis. Sometimes that process that we will develop to counter this crisis, that may also create problems. So we should be very, very careful. The appropriate technology use, appropriate concept, and appropriate process, using all resources to combat this particular thing. Now already, as you all know, we are investing. All countries of the world are investing their resource in research and to manage this particular COVID-19. All other sectors, all other R&D, research and development sector is is suffering from particular scarcity of money, because we are putting our all kind of attention to this. Therefore, other sectors are already have already suffered. Then another point, the impact on human psychology. Now, if you see, for example, in geography, the nature-culture relation is studied since long, and still that is a very, very important core area of geographical study, nature-culture relation. Recently, a book has been published by Professor Sarah Whatmore. She was from Bristol University. She was with Professor Haggett earlier. Then she joined Oxford, and she has developed a book, Hybrid Geographies. And there she says that the critical examination of changing nature-culture relation is the main issue in geography. So therefore, this disease is also a product of the nature-culture relation. So therefore, we shall have to see, the human culture, then human psychology, and also human perception of the world, human perception of this crisis, and how they will try to overcome all these issues are there. So impact on human psychology, that is also very, very important. Then the future of humanity. So the futuristic ideas are also very important. So I think for a long time, this pandemic will have impact on both environment and human population. And what kind of impact will be there, long-term impact will be there, that is also a prime concern. And some of the people, they are trying to, focus on this particular issue. But many of the, social scientists, they say that the health of the environment is closely associated with the health of the human society. The health of nature, health of environment, health of ecosystem, and health of people, they are integrated. It is not that human health, you will be able to protect human health, or you will be able to, improve human health without looking into the health of the environment, health of the nature. It is not like that. So if the health of nature, health of the environment remains good, that will have a positive impact on human health. So all these issues are there, and there is scope to discuss all these things. And I tell you one thing, for example, pollution, then the environmental problems, just like global warming and all that. And you all know that yearly, every year, 7 million people die because of air pollution, 7 million. And out of the 7 million, 2 million children. And those who are suffering from air pollution, particularly directly, having some respiratory problems and all that, they are much more prone to this COVID-19. If someone is suffering from respiratory trouble because of air pollution, the problem caused by more critical. So already, so these things are also there. So therefore, and fortunately, because of the lockdown and all that, the CO2 content, carbon content, carbon dioxide content in the atmosphere is coming down, about 20-25%, already lowered. But then after the pandemic, what will happen, that is also very important. And many people, they are all in favor of, reforestation, eco-restoration, so that the wilderness over the world, particularly, that we have caused a lot of problems because of deforestation. Even during this pandemic, many of the people, illegally they are cutting forests, particularly in the Amazon area. There is a report that in some of the areas within the Amazon basin, people are, illegally cutting trees, taking the chance of this, lockdown. So these kind of things are there. So therefore, but one thing is very clear, that protection of our environment, conservation and preservation of environment is very, very important. If you go on doing, this kind of degradation of environment, I think there will be more problem in future. As there is a close relation between this, forest and people. Forest and people, that means as the disease is zoonotic basically, so therefore the relation between forest and people is very, very direct. If there is a diminishing trend in the forest cover, both in the land as well as green cover in the ocean, for example, there will be more problem. People will be more exposed to some unknown disease, particularly the viral disease. So therefore, we should be very, very careful. And our future generations, they should be taught particularly. We should take a chance. এতিয়া আপোনালোকে দেখা পাব যে ইণ্ডিভিজুৱেলিজিমটো আমাৰ বাঢ়ি আহিছিলে, কিন্তু আমাৰ ছ'চিয়েল নেটৱৰ্কটো আমাৰ যথেষ্ট দুৰ্বল হৈ আহিছিলে। মানুহ ইণ্ডিভিজুৱেলিষ্টিক হৈছিলে, পাৰ্টিকুলাৰলি আৰ্বান এৰিয়া, ৰুৰেল এৰিয়াটো তেনেকুৱা হৈছিলে। এতিয়াতো আৰু মানুহৰ ছ'চিয়েল ইণ্টাৰকানেকশ্যনটো লাহে লাহে কমি আহিল। গতিকে ইয়াৰ পৰা আমাৰ নতুন নতুন সমস্যা তৈয়াৰ হ'ব পাৰে, আৰু আমি খুব কেয়াৰফুল হ'ব লাগিব। আৰু আমাৰ যিটো নতুন জেনেৰেশ্যনক আমি খুব ভালদৰে প্ৰকৃতিৰ প্ৰতি তেওঁলোকৰ অনুকম্পা বঢ়াব লাগিব। আমি প্ৰকৃতিৰ অনুকূলে কিমান গ'লো, প্ৰতিকূলে কিমান গ'লো। প্ৰতিকূলে যোৱাৰ কাৰণে আমাৰ কি কি সমস্যা, দিছ ইজ দ্য চান্স। এইটো সময়ত পিপল উইল ৰিয়েলাইজ দি থিংছ। আপোনালোকে খুব ভালকে আমি ক'ব পাৰোঁ যে ইয়াৰ যিটো এনভাইৰনমেণ্টেল পাৰ্সপেক্টিভ এটা এই গোটেই ডিজিজটোৰ লগত জড়িত হৈ আছে, সেইটো আমি খুব ভালকে চান্সটো ল'ব লাগে। আৰু জিঅ'গ্ৰাফি কেন ডু প্ৰপাৰ জাষ্টিছ টু দিছ। In biological diversity, genetic diversity, then the species diversity, these two things are there. The biologists can do justice to these two things, but we can justice to the other thing which is equally important, that is the ecosystem diversity or environment diversity or habitat diversity. So habitat diversity we can study in geography, and we should take a chance in this particular period. We should take a chance of how the degradation of environment is connected with, directly or indirectly connected with, this kind of disease origin and diffusion. So I don't take much time. I'm very, very happy that this college principal, actually we belong to the same village. More of a bhal lage amar ekai gaon, amar principal Bormon aru moi ekai gaon man. Aru ami dekhisu eta bor important kotha ase, traditional knowledge system to khub important. The traditional knowledge system and traditional lifestyle is very, very important. Now say that if you think for sustainable development, if you think for managing this kind of pandemic sustainably, then you must have love and respect through the traditional knowledge, traditional thinking. Many indigenous people, they do not know science and modern science and technology, but they have been able to adapt to the changing situation. Even in the Arctic area, the indigenous people, they have been able to adapt to the changing climatic situation. Global warming, for example, they have adapted to. They are the people who have suffered, directly because of this climate change and global warming, but they have adjusted. So that is what is very important, particularly from the point of view of understanding the, traditional knowledge system. We have a flood problem. Traditionally, we are adapting to this particular flood problem. But then recently, we have used a lot of things, particularly against nature. And because of that, we have a problem, flood problem now that is not 100% natural. The present flood for 50 years back, flood problem was a natural problem, but now it is not a natural result. The human contribution is much more now. So therefore, it is very complicated. So we should be very, very careful, and particularly whatever traditional knowledge is there, very relevant, very useful. We should have respect to them. We should restore traditional knowledge, and restoring traditional knowledge is also very, very important. That is traditional lifestyle, traditional food habit, particularly to combat this particular crisis. So anyway, with these many words, particularly I am interested to listen to these two young, Asada, I know, he is very thorough, he is very, keen in the study of this kind of thing, and he has his own experience. And Dr. Prasad also, I think, he is also maybe in his department. He has a very good career, a good exposure, and good experience, particularly in geographical problem solving and all that. Therefore, I welcome them. I want to listen to them. And my love and regards to all associated with this GOALPARA college, my student friends, research scholars, and particularly colleagues. My namaskar. আৰু মই আপোনালোকক অভিনন্দন জনাই মোৰ
Thank you, Bhagwati sir. Anjam.
Yes, sir.
Do you have one or two questions regarding this discussion? Question আছে নেকি কিবা?
দেখা পাই আছো.
Is there any question?
Yeah, one question is there. What any next step if repeat corona? One anonymous participants. Yes. What any next step if repeat corona? That means if corona repeats, what would be the next step?
Sir.
One thing is very important. Already people are used to this disease. At the beginning, we were very scared, but now almost in the village people also, they understand the nature of this disease and how to overcome this particular problem, some idea at least, and they have the confidence to face. The medical practitioners, then the people also, they have developed confidence. And I think after some time, because certain things are there at the individual level, you can do something. At the community level also, you can do something to protect yourself, protect the community from this particular disease. Therefore, people will have some experience, good experience, and the medical science and all the laboratories they are working. And therefore, and particularly if this virus will remain, there's no problem at all, this will be controlled ultimately, and this will remain. But it is in a controlled way, this will remain. This will not create much problem later on. But then the possibility is there, then some other virus, other bacteria may cause some other problem. That is what is very, very important. Now, some unknown virus, for example, if they infect, people either from the animal or from some other sources, then that will be much more important. For example, plague, then the Ebola, then the Spanish flu, all these viral and bacterial diseases. So that we may have some other kind of bacterial disease or viral disease that may create problem. But I think after some time, after a few months, this particular disease will be controlled, and human casualty because of this particular disease will be lower and lower, and ultimately it will come under control. There is no doubt that the entire thing will be under control within a few months ahead. But then if you just think of this particular disease, then take for example, আমাৰ ইয়াতে যিটো আমাৰ dengue বুলি যিটো আছিলে, dengue was a big problem, many people died. গতিকে dengue is now it is not a problem. dengue হলে আমি ধুনীয়াকে মেনেজ কৰিব পাৰোঁ, আৰু dengue cases লাহে লাহে কমি আহিছে, মানুহে জানে সাৱধানতা কেনেকৈ অৱলম্বন কৰিব লাগে। গতিকে about this disease, how to live with this disease, people will know from their experience. So there will be, I think, no problem at all after few months. There may be some other problem. Therefore, we should be very careful. As far as possible, we should not go against nature as far as possible. Our conservation of forest, conservation of wetlands, conservation of water bodies particularly is much more important nowadays, just to avoid all this helps us. If it remains undisturbed, then it helps us. Thank you. I think we should not go much for this question, because two speakers are there, and if there is any question, at last they can raise. So I think we should pass over to the other two speakers.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, may I invite Dr. Haruhisa Asada from Japan. And before starting his lecture, I like to invite Hasna Begum Barbuya to introduce Dr. Haruhisa Asada to the audience and to the participant.
Thank you, Sudhita. Namaskar, everybody participated in today's webinar. Respected Dr. Binay Kumar Nath sir, President Governing Body, GOALPARA College. Respected Principal Sir, GOALPARA College, Dr. Subhas Burman. Renowned geographer, environmentalist, poet, literator, President Northeast India Geographical Society, President ASSAM Science Society, former President IGU, Professor Abani Kumar Bhagavati sir from Guwahati University. Respected resource person, Professor Haruhisa Asada, Associate Professor, Department of Geography, Nara Women's University, Nara, Japan. Dr. S. Sanjeevi Prasad, Associate Professor, Department of Geography, University of Madras. Respected teachers and my dear students, friend. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome and introduce our first panelist, Associate Professor from the Department of Geography, Nara Women's University, Kintetsu, Nara, Japan. Dr. Haruhisa Asada. Dr. Asada worked as a research scholar in the Department of Geography, Guwahati University from 2007 to 11. He obtained his PhD from Kyoto University, Japan in the year 2011. The title of his thesis is Climate Change and Rice Cropping System in the Brahmaputra Basin. Dr. Asada's research interest is in climate change, agricultural technology, rural land use, rural livelihoods, agro-ecosystem in general, and relationship between environment and society in Northeast India in particular. Professor Asada is presently studying on land use changes and livelihood issues in Muktapur village and some other villages of Kamrup rural districts of Assam. Recently, he authored 2 books. One is Nature, Culture and Food in Monsoon Asia, published by Springer Nature, Singapore, 2020, 4th February. Another is Rural Livelihoods and Environmental Changes in Muktapur Village, People's Voices, funded by Nara Women's University and Tokuha University of Japan. So with these few words, I would like to thank Professor Haruhisa Asada for taking time out of his busy schedule and gracing us with his presence today. Thank you, Asada. Thank you all. Over to
Thank you,
Swami.
Asna. May I request Dr. Haruhisa Asada to deliver your lecture?
Yes, thank you. May I share my screen? I try.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Do you see the PowerPoint?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, so thank you very much for inviting me today to such a great occasion. I really appreciate everybody, especially respected Principal Sir, Dr. Barmon, and organizer, Professor Sidinath Sarma Sir, and respected guests and scholars and students and all participants for giving me the opportunity to deliver a lecture on impact of COVID-19. So let us start slowly. First, I would like to talk about myself a little. These are keywords on my research or my interest. As I introduced from the Madam, yes, my research interest is Northeast India, especially Assam, agroecosystem, rural society, environmental changes, like that. I got a master's degree from the University of Tokyo, geography, and from 2007-11, I stayed in Assam, Guwahati, as a research scholar of geography and geography department. And 2011, got the doctor's degree from Kyoto University, Japan. And from 2013, I'm working in this university, Nara Women's University, Japan. And the right is figures. When I visited GOALPARA College, it's in 2011. And actually, I always visit Assam every year 2 or 3 times for field work or discussion with the professors. And this year also, 2020, it was March when I was in Guwahati, and I stayed several days, and I met Professor Obanikumar Bhagavati, sir. But anyway, now in August or September every year, I visit Assam, India. But this time I cannot visit your country, and I don't know when I can visit India next time. But anyway, I will try to visit as soon as this outbreak is over. So today I prepared 4 topics on COVID-19. First, I will show you some statistics of COVID-19. And next, impact of COVID-19 in Japan, I will explain. Third, impact on global economy and environment, I will explain. And finally, I will suggest the new normal in the era of COVID-19. So, first, let us confirm some facts of COVID-19 at present. It first emerged in Wuhan. It's a big city in central China. It was in December 2019. And more than 20 million cases have been reported so far. And more than 7.5 lakh people died, unfortunately, across the world until the August 2020. The problem is it is invisible for us. We cannot find the virus where it is, and it's only seen from this like this image. And the virus has neither will nor purpose, but it just increases it in number and propagates by infecting humans like us. So this is a very troublesome. If it is visible, we can escape very easily. We can avoid it, but it is invisible, so it is a very difficult situation for human beings. And so far, less concrete scientific evidence is obtained. I know, yes, there are many researchers, especially medical science researchers, writing papers on this virus, and some facts and some evidence are collecting across many countries, but not the 100% this virus is revealed. And after effects are also unknown for us. Some experts says after effects like disorder of smell or disorder of taste is it will remain sometimes, and sense of fatigue, that means tiredness, might remain for long years. I don't know how long does it continue, but anyway, we should not catch the virus, even if the mortality rate is not high. And no effective vaccine developed yet. Recently, Russian government says they have developed the vaccine, but I don't know that is effective, and I don't know all people in the world can use that vaccine, and I think it will take several years, 2-3 years, at least 2-3 years more to get this kind of vaccine for all people in the world. And so nobody can predict the world after 2020. Even next year, I don't know what will happen, what is the world, and how I can travel to India, how I can when I can resume my research or fieldwork in India. I don't know. I can predict, and yes, you cannot predict, or yes, and so I will show you some statistics of COVID-19. I think, yeah, most of you already know this kind of data or figures. This is the figures of positive cases of COVID-19 in some selected countries, not the all countries, but some selected countries. And this number shows the number of cases in cumulative. And this graph starts from March 2020 to August, just recent days. And as you know, the most affected country is US, America. And the number of cases across the 5 million is huge. It's a huge population. And the second position is Brazil. And India is third position in the number of cases. Now it crossed the 2.5 millions. It's a very big number. And then Russia and some European countries, and China and Japan is, now the number of positive is very little. In Japan, it's not only, it's a not a small number, but 55,000 cases, relatively small compared to India or other European countries. Yes, till March and April, yeah, China was the number one, but China, the number is almost constant and no increase. So next figure is the statistics in positive ratio. It's not the actual number, it's the ratio. That means positive cases per 1 million population. It is very high in US and Brazil. And then Singapore, Saudi Arabia, Sweden, Russia, UK, Italy. This red color means American continent. Green color means Asian continents. And blue color means European continents. And where is India? Yes, India is here. India is the third position in the actual number of positive case, but if converted to the ratio per 1 million, the India is not high in the positive ratio. India here, and Bangladesh, Pakistan, Australia, Indonesia, Japan, and China. China is very low. This kind of the geographical difference we can see. I think it's a very difference. And it will seem more clearly when we analyze the death ratio, not the case, it's a death ratio by country. Death per 1 million population is higher in Europe and American countries like UK, not the US. UK is a top death ratio among the all countries. Then Italy, Sweden, and US, Brazil, France, Mexico, Canada, Germany, Russia. The most death ratio, the top death ratio countries are all Europe and America. And then India, Pakistan, Indonesia, Bangladesh, Australia, Japan, China is very low. So in the countries of Asia and Oceania, the death ratio is very less, far less. That India is only 34% per 1 million population. It's almost 5% of UK ratio. It's far difference. This is a great mystery of COVID-19, but it's very interesting for us geographers. This is a very geographical topic, and we should cooperate together across the world, and we should analyze the reason, factors behind this graph. Okay, I will move next. This is another statistics of human behavior. This is also interesting. This is an analysis of mobile GPS data collected by Google. Everybody can download this kind of data freely from the site of Google. And left one is people on percentage of people on public transportation, like a bus, metro, train, airplanes, like this. And the right one is a percentage of people staying in park in the cities. And this is a percentage. 0% means the average number of people in the place before the corona outbreak in December, January, February 2020, like this. That is 0. So that after the corona outbreak starts, the percentage of people decrease in every country, every cities. That green color is Delhi, in the capital of India. But after June, July of this year, the people using public transportation increase. And the right one is more interesting. This is the people staying in park. So in London or Paris, the percentage of people, that means the number of people staying in park is more than before the outbreak. But the people in Delhi or Jakarta, Indonesia, does not increase. So this kind of behavior, that means a human movement, is totally different by countries, especially the Western countries and Eastern country in Asia, like us. This kind of data we can analyze, and yes, we can specify some factors. This is the work of us and geographer. So next topics, from here, let us see the situation in Japan. I will explain. These are two graphs, and the upper one is daily cases in Japan from January to August. The bottom one is daily death number in Japan from January to August. So you can see the first case identified in Japan on January 16th. I think that India also the January 20 something is almost the same period. And the person was a businessman who traveled to Wuhan and came back to Japan. And first death toll identified in February 13th. And the daily cases gradually increased, especially from the end of March, it increased, and April, it was the peak. We call first wave of the outbreak. And but the problem is that our government called the emergency, declared emergency, April 7 here. Yeah, we think it was too late to declare the emergency. So the government should declare that in the end of February or early March. But I will explain next. But it was a mistake of one mistake of our government. And also the first wave in the period, the number of the daily deaths increased. Mostly they are elderly people in the age of 70s or 80s, and younger generation below 40 or 50s are very little. And May 25th, emergency lifted. So yes, the number was kept small, but from the last part of the June, it again increased. So we entered the second wave situation. But fortunately, the number of deaths is not high like first wave. Yeah, but I don't know in the future that this will increase or this will change. But anyway, yeah, we know how, especially the medical person, the doctors or nurse in the hospitals, and they know how to cope with the patients. And yes, we get some knowledge or information about the virus, so yeah, we can avoid this kind of second death peak. And maybe the temperature might be some important for this kind of the later death. So what the government did in this time? In the early stage, the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe insisted on holding the Olympic Games in July 2020 as per the original schedule. I think you know this year Japan would host the Olympic Games in the July 22, 23 or something for several weeks. And it is his dream to be a host of the Olympic Games, and he never give up the plan. Even now, it was postponed next year, 2021. I don't know he will host or he will finally give up. But anyway, we are preparing for the next year Olympic Games. It is why he become late. He delayed to declare the emergency period in this country. He could not judge proper time. And the problem is the government wants to give priority to economic activities. So they do not like to curb the normal life, even during the outbreak. Now, our government does not do little measures. I will explain later. So that this the position, the policy of government is not good actually in Japan. In the second peak, that means in the month of July, they do not take any measures for preventing the wheels, but they urge people to go traveling for the revival of tourism sectors. It's unbelievable. Our government never says stay home, but they say go out to spend money in the tourism sectors. Actually, yes, yeah, tourism sectors like a hotel, restaurants, shops, bus, trains, airlines, company, yeah, heavily affected by the virus. But of course, yeah, our life is very more important than the tourism industry. Many people oppose their policy. Yes, our government says go to travel, but we says it's a go to hell. It's a go to hell policy of our government. Yes, we never support our government policy. But why our government is so poor? In Japan, our constitution does not permit the total lockdown of the society. The government just asks individuals for voluntary bans. They never orders or they never forcefully orders citizens. These are some asks us telework in offices and companies. Yes, we can. Flex time for employees. Yes, we can. Closure of schools, bars, gyms, cinema halls, parks, etc. Ban on conferences, athletic games, entertainment events, etc. But this is not the order. This is just asking. This is just a request, and they no penalty, no penalty for opening the schools, opening the conference, but no compensation from the government. This is a very big problem for our country. Yes, the government was kindly to give us the cash distribution. It's 1 lakh yen. That means 60,000 Indian rupees per head. Even the babies can get this kind of money, but it's only once, not repeatedly. This is not enough for our subsistence, our life. And compensation for business owner, it's 1 million yen. It's 6 lakh Indian rupees per one business. But again, this is not enough for us to sustain their business for several months. They will corrupt in the near future. They developed a mobile application for tracking the position using the GPS, but this application is not working properly. This is not good. And cash bonus for tourism. This is we oppose this kind of policy. Yes. Apart from the poor political decisions, medical experts in Japan was very high quality, worked very sincerely, and they showed the way to prevent the transmission of the virus. They advised people to avoid 3 C's, ABC C's. One is close to avoid the closed spaces like a small room. The second is crowded places like a gathering, meeting, or gym, or bar, small bar. Or the third is close contact settings, like speak loudly in the close distance. So yes, I know that everybody knows in the world keeping distance, social distance, but keeping distance is not enough. Open windows. Do not talk loudly in the close distance. Yes, so we succeeded in withstanding the first wave of the outbreak according to the advice of these experts, by avoiding the social activities which leads to the 3 Cs. This is the most important for our success, temporal success, to avoid the outbreak. And now this principle is adopted in WHO, WHO, World Health Organization policy. So, but this is only effective in the early stage of outbreak and not much effective after large-scale outbreak and the community transmission occurred. So anyway, this kind of policy we followed. I will explain some history. We have the long history of wearing a mask in Japan. After the Spanish flu in 1918-20, we started to use it regularly, normally. And even before the outbreak of COVID-19, before 2020, it was a common features in Japan that people cover their faces with masks, especially in winter season, to prevent the other virus like influenza or some bad cold. And so this is my opinion. In Asian countries where population density is high, they historically may know how to avoid contacts in the crowded places. So this is only the example in Japan, but I think this kind of knowledge or traditional knowledge, it can be found in other countries in Asia, including India. This kind of re-evaluation of our tradition is very important to avoid, to escape the virus. But the virus, so next year I will talk about the society. The virus drives hysteria among citizens in Japan, which led to divides in society. What kind of device? For example, COVID-19 positive patients and negative people. That means it is very sad, but they criticize people, those who catch the virus. Why you catch the virus? Why you visited such a crowded place, such a marketplace or something? Don't come near to us and stay home or something. So this kind of conflict we can see in our society. And foreign travelers and domestic residents. This picture they write, and this is one drawings in front of the shops. They say no Chinese allowed to enter inside. This is the first phase in January, February. This kind of memo, this kind of notes, yes, and they put in the doors, on the doors, and yes, it's a discrimination to Chinese people, and urban dwellers and rural dwellers, and elder generation and younger generations, and university authority and students. This kind of, it's not big conflicts, it's a small conflicts and small divides are emerging in our society. Suppose the urban-rural difference is very big. This is the influence in urban area. An example, many people caught the virus in hotel, gym, music hall, and hospitals in the urban area. And the streets are deserted and shops are shut down during the emergency period in April and May. And still now, less people visit urban area, and many shops suffer from the no customer, and they cannot sell their materials. Some shops started takeout service like this. This is a packet lunch from the hotels. They sell in the front along the street, and some people joined delivery service of Uber. I I saw in India, Guwahati or Delhi, the Uber Eats or Uber Taxi, and this kind of service was not popular in Japan before the COVID-19, but now it is gradually get popularity. And hotel in the tourism sector is a very big problem continuing. Some hotels are converted to isolation facilities for the people who caught the virus, but it's not enough. This is the influences in rural area. The number of positive cases is less in rural area than urban. More people rush to rural area from urban to soak up the clean air. They enjoy picnic in the riverside. These are not the local, these are all from the cities or towns. And the rural depopulation is a serious problem in Japan. Depopulation means rural-urban migration was very a big problem. They depend agricultural work now on foreign laborers because Japanese local laborers are not available. So they invite from foreign countries like China, Korea, Vietnam, Philippines, but they cannot secure a sufficient labor force in this season because no air connection resumed so far. So that the agricultural sector is much affected. This kind of international relations are very big problem for us because Japanese, we depend our energy and food on imports from foreign countries. 90% of our energy source come from foreign countries like coal, petrol, and gas, something. 63% of food material come from outside. Wheat, some meat, some fish come from outside. So it is a very big challenging situation for our food security. And the society also depends on foreigners in the field of agriculture, as I mentioned before, and construction sector. That means the blue collar sector, not the white collar. And also the higher education, like University of us. Now let us talk about the changes in university life. Yes, like India, we also offer online class by Zoom or Google Meet or YouTube. And we start in April and it continues till the first week of August. And students can attend classes from their home, but they must deal too much assignments for homework. And they will be very tired because from morning to the evening, they always watch their computer or their smartphone. So it is very bad for eyes or their minds. And some students get depressed. It's not good. And some students and their parents claim their tuition fee should be returned during online class semester period. But of course, we cannot refund the money. It is necessary for running our university administration. So this is a very university authority and the students, they have some problems. The divides are seen here. I will talk about my class on geography. Yes, I can teach some geographical topics by Zoom, but outside activities like excursion are inevitable for teaching geography. So I tried online live tour via Zoom for learning local landscapes. I and one assistant and two person is go around the university, and I talk about and I explained the topography or landscape or historical some importance like this. It was very interesting. Yes, now I cannot teach my classroom, but I can use my mobile, so I can deliver my class anywhere outside campus. This is a very challenging but very interesting for me. And study tour in a small group. Usually we go together 20 students or 30 students, but only 7, 8 students. We visited some hilly places for learning the rural environment. It was possible. Yes, somehow, yeah, we can manage to continue our studying. So teachers must manage to offer the opportunity to learn the subject, not the same ways before, but in different ways than normal. We must consider how we can teach for students. And this is my impression of a comparison between India and Japan. Yes, as I said, political power is weaker and their decision is very poor in Japan, but the rather homogeneous society is easy to be controlled in time of emergency this year. But on the contrary, political power seems to be stronger in India. Your Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, yes, I always watch him on net. But the diverse society may be difficult to be controlled without lockdown. Diverse means the language or religion or economic difference. That means the rich and poor. This kind of diverse I can see in the India society. So this is a very big difference. But the common, the similarity is both countries putting the economy first before the prevention of virus. In my observation, yeah, India, your prime minister don't like to stop your economy, but resume the economic activity as early as possible. So this is the same with our prime minister, Abe. So the third topic I will explain, that is the impact on economy and environment in the global scale. This is the global economy figures. The annual growth rate of GDP in the world 2020 will be the worst since the Second World War. This is an estimate, but in the world, total negative growth, about 5% negative growth. It was unpredictable, unprecedented in the modern history. But the GDP growth by country, it will be worse in US and EU countries like Italy or UK. And the impact will be less in Japan, but it's a negative 5%. It is a huge loss for our economy. And India and China. China will be even positive growth in economy this fiscal year 2020. So this is amazing. So in terms of economy, the Western countries and the Eastern Asian countries, there's a geographical difference we can see. And this economy is very important for environment. Rapid economic growth had caused the environmental pollution across the world since the mid-20th century. Like Japan and India, also China, or other Asian countries, other developing countries, yeah, they enjoy the economic development. But after the emergence of COVID-19, especially air quality has become clearer in China and India than before. Yes, this is the left one is a figure of NO2 in atmosphere in China. This is a before, and that the right is after. That before it was very bad air, but now it's a very clean air in China. And the right figure is very famous, worldwide famous photos from Jalandhar in Punjab. Yes, they finally saw the Himalaya mountain range after many years. It was very interesting story. And also in Japan, also the CO2 emissions decreased in many countries. And this is a positive effect for environmental conservation. This is other topic from environment. Human society are vulnerable to new virus, though wild animals are enough tough to survive in this crisis. This is a picture from New Delhi. The monkeys are running and eating some fruits in the roadside. And the right one is Japan, my hometown, Nara. Yes, nowadays, recently, so many deers are running across the town. It is very funny. And this is a semi-domesticated, but yeah, we had this kind of animals. Before, it was, but number was less. So temporal slowdown of economic activities reminds us that we are part of the nature, living in a greater natural world. And the disrupted ecosystem may recover without human intervention. I don't know, but this is a good opportunity to think about environment conservation. And this is some historical topics. New virus in the 20th century emerged in the places where human nature or human animals interactions became frequent. Yes, some virus appeared in US, but some appeared in Brazil, Amazon, or African near equatorial countries, or Southeast Asia, or inside China. Developmental activities of human, especially in tropical regions, caused the emergence of new virus like HIV, monkeypox, or Ebola, or Nipah virus, or influenza. So this developments facilitating spread, commercial air travel, global trade, urbanization, this kind of activities, that is a global capitalism, and LCC, a low-cost air carriers network, transmitted the virus quickly. Especially now Chinese people go across the world. 20 years ago, China was not developed like today. So their activity was not wide, not spread. But now, especially the economic development in China is very responsible for today's outbreak. Now we should realize that now we are living not in Holocene, but in Anthropocene. I think you know this new term, Anthropocene. This is now it's not the Holocene, but now it is the era of it's the era when human drive the entire Earth system, like greenhouse gases cause global warming. So influences of human activities reach all parts of the Earth, which causes various kinds of problems on a global scale: climate change, pollution, exploitation, and COVID, newly emerging virus. This is one of the global scale problems. I draw these figures. Before, human impact was less in nature, but it gradually overlapped nature and society, and now the impact is very large, and this caused the global crisis and many problems like COVID-19. This is my view on nature-society relationship. That is a geographical view. This is a word what Mahatma Gandhi told us more than 100 years ago. I think you, all of you read Hindu Swaraj. It's in 1907. He said the railways too have spread the bubonic plague. Without them, the masses could not move from place to place. They are the carriers of plague germs. Formerly, we had natural segregation. This is like before the globalization, but he predicted what will happening after 100 years. It may be a debatable matter whether railway spread famines, but it is beyond dispute that they propagate evil. Development is not always good, but sometimes it brings bad things like germs. So this is a final. It's about to reach my conclusion. Everything will go reverse in the society after 2020. Like communication via online become common, normal, and rural area is more convenient for living and working than urban area. Female leaders exercise more talents than male leaders, like Prime Minister in Taiwan or Prime Minister in New Zealand. And Asian countries, including Japan, India, are more resilient than Western countries. So we should not follow the Western way, Western lifestyle, Western cultures. Yes, yeah, we should re-evaluate our Asian tradition. And finally, this is my final significance of COVID-19 in the history of Earth. Viruses originally belong to the world of nature. It is a result of human-nature interactions, which caused the pandemic in 2020. The COVID-19 virus has slowed down the global economic activities, and it enabled the recovery of Earth's environment to some extent. The virus tells us how we should behave on Earth. It warns human beings what to do and what not to do to save the Earth's environment. We should follow the voices and change our lifestyles as well as outdated minds. I think, yeah, you know, Gaia hypothesis or Gaia theory considered by James Lovelock in 1960s. Yes, the Earth is more than just a home, it's a living system. The Earth is living. The COVID-19 is Earth's will to stop the economic activities. So without changing our common sense, changing our mind, yes, new virus will definitely emerge again after this COVID-19 outbreak is over. This is repeatedly the new virus will appear in the future after several years. So anyway, we should change our mind. We should change our lifestyle. Yes, thank you. This is my all lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Haruhisa Sada, for your important thinking and representing various data related to COVID-19 pandemic and activities that undertook by the Japan government and the large population of Japan to control COVID-19 pandemic. Anjam, do you have any question?
Yeah, two more questions. Can we take? Okay. Yeah. One question: how can we mitigate the loss of education? From Janmoni Kolita. Can you listen,
yes,
sir?
Thank you. Yes, yeah. We must resume our education as early as possible. But now we know we can use technology like Zoom or some online technology. So we should not stop this kind of technology. So this technology will provide the this is a distance education, and this is very convenient. This is very efficient, and yes, yeah, in next years or within 2-3 years, this outbreak pandemic will be over. But I think this kind of same situation will again we suffer in the near future. So we will change the education system by using this new technology, online technology, and we deliver exam online, and students does not have to come to our university campus. So this kind of whole total system of education, we should modify gradually to adopt new situation. This is my comment.
Next question is, if vaccine would apply in India in late, then how will India revive its economic condition as well as education?
Hmm. 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 I'm not the economist, so I cannot say much about the economic revival. But anyway, it's a politicians. Yes, politicians must change their minds, and they must choose which sectors they must care very effectively. Which sector is they can start that activities, so that politicians should learn from the medical experts. That the collaboration is very important.
Sharma sir.
Thank you,
Right now.
Dr. Haruisha Asada again for giving your valuable time to the participants of this webinar. Thank you. Now, may I request Dr. Sanjeevi Prasad to deliver his lecture. But before that, I must have to invite Mijing Basumatari to introduce Dr. S. Sanjeevi Prasad to the participant. Mijing.
Well, good afternoon, respected Principal Sir, Dr. Subhas Burman, keynote speaker, Professor Abani Kumar Bhagavati, resource person, Dr. Haruisha Asada, Dr. Sanjeevi Prasad, and our respected President of the governing body, B.K. Nath Sir, and our colleagues, Dr. Mehdi Sir, Hasna Begum Ma'am, and Dr. Anjam Sir, and all delegates from around the world present in today's international webinar. Welcome, Dr. Sanjeevi, sir. So, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
So, Department of Geography, GOALPARA College, and delegates from India and all around the world are eagerly waiting for your lecture on impact of COVID-19 pandemic on socio-economic activities with special reference to Japan and India. Sir, today I feel proud and happy to introduce you in international webinar as I was a student in Department of Geography, University of Madras during 2012 and 14. Sir is presently working as assistant professor in Department of Geography, University of Madras. Sir has completed BSc Geography major in 1999 from prestigious Presidency College, University of Madras. In 2001, he has completed MSc in Geography from same college. In 2003, he has submitted his MPhil dissertation in Presidency College, University of Madras. During MPhil, applying a GIS approach, he has worked on ecological sensitive area of coastal districts in Tamil Nadu. He has submitted his PhD thesis in 2008 at Loyola College. It is to remind him that his thesis is highly commended. During PhD, he has worked on public health issue related to stormwater drain in Chennai, Zone 2 and Zone 3, using GIS as tool for management. Till date, he has undertaken and worked on 2 projects. Sir has worked on digital road mapping of Chennai street network for Corporation of Chennai using geoinformatics. This project was funded by DST PERS Phase 2 program. Sir has worked on geoinformatics and web-based surveillance for early warning system of dengue and other vector-borne disease in Chennai city, Georgetown CBD. This project was funded by ICMR, ICSSR, SBR. Till date, he has 4 international and 15 national seminar. Thank you, sir. Welcome to today's international webinar. Now the platform is yours.
Thank you, Mijing. May I request Dr. S. Sanjeevi Prasad to deliver your lecture? Over to Sanjeevi Prasad.
Yeah. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, sir. First of all, I thank Principal Subhash sir for giving this opportunity, and SN Sharma sir for giving the opportunity. And also I like to welcome Haruisha Asada from Japan. So it's nice meeting you. Your lecture was very interesting and very useful. So I would also thank Anjan Hussein. Sorry, I think I pronounced your name correctly. So thank you very much. And Mishing, one of my best students, and I've seen him as a student. He was very highly motivated, and he participates in all the academic activities. Thank you, Mishing. And so now I shall proceed to my presentation. Okay. So is it screen number on the screen? What are
Yeah, visible, sir.
So, so I like to present the Indian status. So I just the COVID-19 in a geographic perspective. So it will be covering. I have made this presentation into 4 parts. So initially about the Indian status of COVID, and then how socio-economically it has affected, and then how we can use geospatial studies in this in the thing, and what it will be in the post-COVID. So in my presentation, it will be going in this form. So part one, it is the India's pandemic status. So we are aware that the first trace of COVID in India was in 30th on January 30th, and it was reported in Thrissur, Kerala. And then the second case was in within 2 days on February 2nd. It was also in Kerala, and the third case was in February. That was also in Kerala. So the first initial breakout in January, it was all in Kerala. And what happened after that is slowly this is the statistics I like to show. So from March till March 27th, there was little not much idea of about this COVID, and people had a lot of saying that this Indian climate won't suit it, and it won't be affecting India, and many suggestions and talks about that. But now, by seeing this graph, we could know that this virus doesn't leave anybody, and you can see the gradual rising of the active cases, and how the deaths have been slowly increasing, and day by day, how the patients number has also been increased. Okay, so this was the status, but only one advantage we had is in India that the death rate was very low when compared to other states. So there, in that way, it was we could what to say, survive much more than other countries. Okay, so this is now once the cases after 20th March, we can see the graph how the doubling rate and the moving average, which was completely being increased. So nearly 28 to 30,000 of cases have been reported in India till July, but today it has gone to 60,000. So today's status, it has gone to 60,000, and still now it is between 60 and 70,000. So we expect that they are expecting more. So the reason for this, if we could expect, it is again the lockdown, the phase of lockdowns which have been taking place, and the unlocking which has happened, and transportation, people movement has started. So initially, if you all see the first 50 to 60 days in India, the patients were seemed to be only through it was like a courier. It was like a courier. It was taken from some place, and here it has been dispatched. So people from abroad basically were being the carriers, and people who have come from abroad have been reported. But after this April, the first phase of lockdown, after that the what to say, the relaxations in traveling, and people started to travel, and from within the intrastate also. where the cases doubled, and it has now gone to a high of 70,000, 60 to 70,000 per day. And so now when you compare the global scenario, so yeah, as I told, in the first 60 days we had it was very effective, but after the 60 days, it was the cases were higher. So as in the previous presentation, Dr. Asda mentioned, the politics, the government politics which involve in releasing these unlocks, and they say the socio-economic activities are being totally, the GDP is down and all these things. So the policies have been changed, but they didn't. There was not much consideration on how to minimize the spread of the disease, which was not the health management was not proper here also, was not very effective. We cannot say it was not proper. It was not very effective to bring in the people also in control them by without going them asking them to stay safe, stay home. Here it was advised to stay safe and stay home, and which was very difficult. So in the global scenario, we can now see how India is reaching the top. Even though it's near, I think it might cross Brazil also, because the situation is, now the situation is becoming little more severe day to day. When you say 70,000 and it is going to go for another 1 month, then the scenario is going to be very emergency. And so this is a state-wise distribution. And among the states, if you see here again, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh rank the top three. And actually, to say Delhi was initially in the top three. Maharashtra, Chennai, and Delhi, the three metros were mainly affected, and that was surely because of the population, the migrant population, and people from all over the country come to these main metros, and they involve in various employment activities. So we thought that was also another reason for the spread to be high in the metro cities. That is, and moreover, because Maharashtra, that to Mumbai was the hub, and we know already Mumbai and Thane, Pune are very much linked, and people from Pune and even Ahmedabad, everybody traveled on daily basis also to Maharashtra, and that was the main factor which why Maharashtra had to couldn't control the cases, and also the slum population is more in Maharashtra, and that was also a reason why Maharashtra still is in the top position. And now, if we see also the first million cases were also in the major metros. If we could see the chart, it is but this happened nearly within after the 50-day mark. After the 50-day mark only, and in another 25 days we could reach this 1 million cases. In the second million was also more shorter period, and you can see the graph. So now the hotspots are more hotspots are widening, or the buffer is spreaded, and a lot of areas have been affected. It is clearly visible in the second million cases. So this is the general growth rate, and how it has been taking place. So as previously we discussed, so like in India, the total cases might be more, but the effect is less. The same way, Tamil Nadu and Delhi, even Maharashtra count to be lower in the growth rate of COVID, whereas the number of patients is more because of the testing is more. So other places, I think the testing samples differ from every state to state, and that is the difference in this growth rate also. Okay. So this is again, so that is why Delhi, the rapid testing were more and the quarantines were more in these metros, and where the number of patients alone is been more where compared with the growth rate. So now next part. So this is the scenario of the COVID in India, where we go to the next part is the what is the socio-economic impact. So when you first why this socio-economic impact started means first is the reason is the nationwide lockdown. So 60 days of lockdown is being practiced, is being faced in the country. And phase one, if you see, it is from 25th March to 14th April, and phase two, it is from 15th April to 3rd May, and the third phase is from 4th to 17th May, and the fourth phase is from 18th to 31st May. So June 1st, the first unlock was being done, and the relaxations of people can travel, e-pass, and all these some additions were given, and markets were open. So in the and in the second July, even the offices were asked to work with the workforce of 30%, and slowly initially 30%, and then it grew to 50%, and now there is about 75% of the workforce are working in all the offices. Okay, so what has basically happened in lockdown? Uh, Nearly the world's largest, for example, in lockdown one, the world's largest food security scheme of for 800 million people across the country was announced. Okay, so like ration and everything was free, and people were given a lot of subsidies. Whereas the Reserve Bank couldn't control the EMI, they also asked the EMI payments to be stopped, and they can be reversed, they can be extended for 3 months. They cannot pay, and from even from the PM Prime Minister Care Fund, people could donate, and from that all the money were diverted. Even all the member of parliaments and member of legislative assemblies, everybody's contributions were given to the PM Care Fund, and in this way, the certain things were started to gear up, and the socio-economic status of the country had to be something had to be done, and and in this means only the country, the government tried to go more push on things, and so now by these lockdowns, we once we crossed it, we saw that the GDP in the third quarter, it was it came to a very low, which India has never faced before, and India, that too being what to say, a developing country. So the GDP growth is very much important, and so we had no other go to unlock the lockdowns. So this is the GDP in the past years that we have faced, and now how it has changed. So in 1920, just in the second quarter itself, it was just 4.5. Already there is a crisis in the GDP economy of Indian economy, and moreover, this pandemic has put more crisis to it. For example, in the first 21 days lockdown period, there was a loss of about 35,000 crores per day. Every day we had to lose, the Indian economy had to lose so much of money, and this even by the business was down by 53%, and unemployment was raising from 6.7. Initially pre-lockdown it was 6.7 percentage, and after in mid of April, after the first lockdown phase, so the unlock of the first lockdown, slowly the unemployment grew up, and it became worse to 26%. In April, it rise to 26%, and in mid June only the unemployment became again steady because of the unlocking of the lockdown, and people started to go to their jobs, and they were all back. So this is the major, and the another major problem in the socio-economic activity is the migrant laborers. So all these laborers, initially everybody were asked to go to their places, and people all traveled in, because uh, on 23rd March, it was announced. On 20th, it was the 21st. It was announced that 23rd is going to be complete lockdown. So 1 day gap, and the complete lockdown was introduced all over India. So people, they were in a hassle situation. They wanted to meet their families. They wanted to go to join their families, and so everybody was moving here there, and a lot of chaos was also going among these migrant laborers. So that was also a reason for the spread, and so because they had the large mob of people moved across the states, interstates, and within the states, from rural area to urban area and urban area to rural area. So all these things were happening. So the migrant laborers faced a lot of problems. So all these people, all these migrant laborers had to lose their job. They have to quit their job, and they have to go to their to meet their native or the families, and all these problems was there. So this is the general scenario of an Indian scenario of the migrants who moved, and moreover, you can see the map. So in from Mumbai, why the Mumbai is so affected? So nearly more than 1 million people have been migrants have been transferred from here, from Mumbai and nearby areas. So yeah, this was the main reason for the spread of the disease. Also, this migrant movement of the migrant laborers was also happening. And but as a geographer, we like to analyze this. What we like to analyze, the reverse migration happened. So generally, the push and the pull. We used to say the push and pull factors are the most important for migration. People on opportunity. So on based on the opportunity, the push and pull were happening, and a lot of migration was taking place. But here we can analyze the push and pull is happening. Now they are forced to leave the place which has attracted. They have to leave the place and go to a different, go back to the native where they could be safe. So this is the new study we could find out from this pandemic. And as economy, we can understand how the Indian total export growth rate has fallen down. And this is the first time ever since we faced such a drop in the export. And that too, till from March 24th, all the for the first lockdown period, all the exports were stopped. Even the shipping was stopped, and there was no trade. So in that manner, a lot of loss has been faced in March, and subsequently after the first lockdown only, since the US demanded they wanted the medicine from India, they opened the shipping, and we also needed the ventilators and all the other things. So the government found without shipping the medical emergency materials could not reach India. So we have to open the shipping alone, and that is the reason the shipping has been cleared, and the little bit of export is now going on. Import as well as is actively being carried out. So this is the international. So that's the next in India. The major contribution for our GDP is through agriculture. And if you see the statistics, in 6 years, the total GDP, more than 3.3% of contribution is through the agriculture sector. And now, because of this lockdown and all the agriculture activities, there was a lot of difficulties for the farmers to sell the products and take it to the market because of this the movement restriction. Everything had to be restricted, and there was a lot of, and farmers faced a lot of economic problems, like selling the goods, taking them to the market. Everything was done. Everything was very difficult. Okay. So now the two major challenges that we could face from this pandemic is the labor availability, and another one is the access to the market, and transportation facilities, which were all stopped, and this is the reason where agriculture sector could not contribute anything to the GDP. So this by this chart you can know, so the socio-economic lockdown and how this is being can be cleared once the post-COVID, that is after the COVID, how it can be released. So now all the places, all the trade, so from schools, from education sector, entertainment, business, malls, and entertainment, every gym, everything is being locked down. So we couldn't, their contribution to the government cannot be done immediately. So slowly now automatically all the sectors could open up. Then once the COVID is relaxed and once again we revert back to the normal situation. Okay, so here now all the people, so the economists have analyzed the economic recovery, how it is going to be. So these are the few economic what to say graphs which show how the economy is going to be revived. And they say V-shaped recovery or a U-shaped recovery, Z-shape and W-shape and L-shape, like that. So when you just see this chart, if it is a V-shape, means automatically the economy is going to be down and it is going to rise up, and then only it is going to steady. So here people, they suggest it is a V-shaped, it is all the shapes which have been mentioned. People suggest one expert economist is giving an idea, but only as a geographer, and we have to always say, once there is a decline, there is always going to be a rise, and that will happen. But what is going to be the time period for that to happen? Because already the economic is very down, and how it is going to be made clear by adjusting the economy, how fast we are going to revive, that is going to be the million-dollar question, I think. So we will surely revive and we'll surely come up, the economy will come up, but what will be the time period? But nobody knows, I think, for the next 6 months, because the economic situation is like that. So now I shall go to the part 3, where the geospatial health services, and how as a geographer, when we transform ourselves into an expert using the geospatial techniques, how we can use them to solve these medical emergency problems. And with this, in this I like to share. There are the GIS technology. We are already into. I'm working with ICMR in a project, where in that project it's a digital surveillance project. We are doing it. We have done it for dengue. So where the building block wise, we have mapped the Chennai, a particular zone, and with the GIS and GPS technology, and with the latest web technologies, we have integrated all these three things, and we have made a decision support system. So now we are asking the even the system, even the corporation people. In previously, all the data were collected manually, but now we have suggested them to make the GPS data collections, and all the data are collected in GPS, and with remote sensing. This has been integrated into the remote sensing mapping, and finally a dengue surveillance system is being framed, where the patient's details, from which area, what is the name, age, all the details can be done. And this, the primary concern is where we can locate the patient, and we can analyze from how fast it is going to spread, where all it is going to spread. That is going to be the thing. And here now in COVID also, we need the same system. Where is the moment of the particular individual, from where he is leaving, and which all places he is reaching, and again where he is coming back. So this analysis, if it's performed for the COVID, it will be very useful. So that can be done by the geo intelligent dashboard, and we have prepared that dashboard for the dengue, and the same can be implemented for our thing. So if once it is being done, we can visualize the house level hotspots analysis, which we have done, and this is the hotspot mapping can be done, as well as a WebGIS. You can see both the maps. So this side is the hotspot map, and the other one is your WebGIS. And this WebGIS map can integrate, and it can be processed in hierarchical level. So from commissioner to the local clerk, who is going to feed in the data, field man, even the field staff, we can take in. So they can access the data in different levels, and the decision support can be made in hierarchical levels immediately. with the implementation of GIS and WebGIS. If we could do it will be very useful. But this project we have done to one of the main busy business center in Chennai. That area we have selected and we have done. So this COVID relevance also is based on the same pandemic. This pandemic also can be critically treated by clinical treatments can help individual cure, but for a larger scale public health disease control, a more geographical perspective of disease outbreak needs to be studied. So the main thing is now we have seen people initially people were thinking a person who could cough or a sneeze is the main victim. Okay, and in India, if you see, most of the people are asymptomatic. So this asymptomatic people carriers, we can call them as the carriers, and these asymptomatic carriers have actually spread to the whole country because the immunity, based on the immunity level, we say they are symptomatic, they are more vulnerable. At the same time, they are very resistant and they become asymptomatic. So once this asymptomatic are done, so now what is the problem we are facing is people in the early stage were told that they should not be in contact. So social distancing was implemented. Okay, so they asked you to stay safe at home, and it was done. But once the lockdown is cleared, then how come the people like the higher society people, the higher people, for example, ministers, MLA, even governors, all get infected where they are not exposed to the public? But still, so the purpose of this, the where they have been affected, how they have been affected is only through this asymptomatic carriers, because we don't know whether he's infected or not. And he just goes around all the places and just spreads it. But who is not immunely strong, if their immunity level is less, then automatically they become a victim and they show out that this disease, this virus has been into the body, and it becomes very dangerous and life threatening to those people. So now, next, what we are going to the post-COVID, how it is going to be. So what has to be, what will be done? So the major shifts that is going to happen is the spatial awareness of the disaster mitigation, then the digital health monitoring, then inclusion of academic and scientific experts in policy making, and finally, it is going to be a disaster resilience, where environment, economic, social are going to be the three pillars which is going to be concentrated, and this is going to be the major shifts after the COVID. So now I like to share a small story before I end the lecture. So a common man with committed obedience, value for life, with interest and 100% dedication to his job, reached office and performed his duty to his job. And once his duty to the community, he started his duty to the community to outreach and validate his identity without distancing. After his duty, next day, he started with a cough, outthrow, which valued down his immunity level to near death. He was cashless with overdraft, exceed without any more vouchers, no access to internet banking or digital money for his financial need. So this is a common man's COVID story where he has to earn, he has to do his job, he has to be there, and when he stays home, all these things are affected. So that is the reason for the socio-economic crisis, and where but we have to do some survival plan for this common man, and if we work out in that way, it would be a good measure to the common man. And this is for according as a so health aspect, we can say COVID. The word COVID is a virus name, but in itself when you see it health, once you have the cough, you have an outthrow or a value down in your immunity, then it is leading you to death. If you say it as in a financial financial way, COVID is cash There's no cash, there's no overdraft, there's no vouchers, there's internet banking, there's digital money. But who's going to use what, and how it is going to be used by the common man? So socially, so what we have to do to avoid the COVID is commitment, obedience, value for life, involvement, and dedication. If it is there and if it is followed, then we are safe from the COVID. So this is one of the, sorry. Okay, with this I could end my presentation. And so any questions, I think, can be discussed from the.
Thank you, Dr. S. Prasad, for your good presentation. Now, may I ask Anjam, do
Yes,
you
sir.
have any question regarding this Prasad presentation?
Right now, not yet received.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Then thank you very much for your valuable time giving us to deliver this nice presentation regarding the socio-economic impact. And the last word, really very thought-provoking, it is the dedication for social resilience. It is very much important. And now, may I invite our principal, whether principal is here?
Yeah. No. Disconnected.
Principal.
Disconnected. Shall I ask? Shall I make a call?
Call him.
Join the program here. Hello? Now, I invite our principal for his concluding remarks on this international webinar on impact of COVID-19 pandemic on socio-economic activities, which is especially referring to Japan and India. Three teachers, professionally teachers, Bhagavati sir from Guwahati University, Haruhisa Asada from Japan, Nara University, and Sanjeevi Prasad from Madras University, Chennai, delivered their lecture on various facets of COVID-19 and its impact on socio-economic activities in Japan and India. Now, I request our principal to conclude this. Over to principal.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Sharma, and our honorable resource persons, Professor Abani Kumar Bhagavati, Dr. Sanjeevi Prasad, Harusi Asada, and esteemed participants, our President Governing Body, Dr. B.K. Nath. So this is a webinar where I have, since the beginning, I have been taking part. And I have, whatever I have feel, that this is a webinar that help us to develop our understanding regarding impact of COVID-19 in they're giving a global overview, not only Japan or India. And while Professor Bhagavati, when he was delivering his keynote address, in his keynote address, he has tried to give the trajectory of the pandemics and not only COVID-19, how other pandemics that occurred, that human civilization have encountered, how they face those challenges. On that, Dr. Bhagavati gave how the geographers should look towards the pandemic and how this pandemic we can develop a atlas of pandemics, how it spread and from where it begins. And he was arguing that we need a very good understanding of pandemic so that we can develop a comprehensive strategy to address such issues. Not only COVID-19, in future there may be many more such challenges for mankind. So I'm quite happy, and I'm sure all participants are immensely benefited by Professor Bhagavati's lecture, his keynote address. And good thing about Bhagavati is that he is an organic intellectual who has a very close relation with the society around us. So in my concluding remarks, I express my thanks to Professor Bhagavati who have made it a meaningful webinar. Then we have a scholar, professor of University of Nara, Women University, Professor Hatsu Ashada. In his lecture, in his presentation, we have seen how states not only of Japan, Indian state was also not prepared to address such a serious onslaught. So on that, he has given good ideas on how to face those such challenges. And another good thing about us, about all the participants, and we are also having getting a overview of the Japan's experience, how Japanese people, how Japanese economy, how Japanese state is responding towards this great pandemic, because this is unprecedented happening. It's a historic time. How and another good thing about that, Japan is a country which is highly, technologically highly developed and progress. They have achieved a different level of progress. So what Japan is doing, Professor Asada has focused it, and I'm sure all of our participants or scholars and for all of us, it will be highly beneficial, and for policy making also, it will enormously contribute. Then Sanjeevi Prasad, who is from our one of the oldest university of the country, Madras University, is from Geography Department. And Sanjeevi Prasad's good thing is that he has, whatever he argued, it is basically on the basis of facts and on the basis of his experience also, whatever I have felt. So I'm sure that this is a webinar that help us to understand the Indian scenario, at the same time, see what is happening in Japan, and also a holistic, approach, holistic, total overview of the issue. So this is very important. Our experience in India, our experience in Japan, and the experience in states, because we have to work together to address this COVID-19 pandemics. So in my concluding remark, I express my gratitude to Sanjeevi Prasad, and I'm sure that this webinar, it has been a grand success. It is already, whatever presentation they have made, this renowned scholars, it has made it a meaningful endeavor. So thank you. This is my remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Burman, for giving your concluding remark. Now, I invite Dr. Dhananjay Medhi, one of the assistant professor of the Department of Geography, GOALPARA College, and the assistant coordinator of this webinar, to offer a vote of thanks. Medhi.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Respected Principal, GOALPARA College, Dr. Subhash Burman, sir, Honorable President, Governing Body,
Dhananjay,
Sir. Sir,
you are not audible. Yeah.
am I not audible?
Now you are audible.
Anjam?
Now you are audible.
Yeah.
It gives me immense pleasure to offer vote of thanks in this international webinar. Geography, GOALPARA College.
No, actually, your
Bhagapati sir.
sir,
Yes.
your
Yes.
that headphone is not working. Your microphone is not working.
Now?
You can use direct. Now you yeah.
Now?
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
There may be some network issue.
Yeah.
So I, on behalf of the Department of Geography, GOALPARA. Thanks to the keynote speaker, respected Professor Bhagapati sir. Speech in this international webinar, highlighting some. You had also a briefing on your time cooperation.
Dr. Medhi. Dr. Medhi.
Sir.
You are not audible actually.
You can speak directly.
Yes,
directly.
remove it. Then, yeah, freely you speak without the.
Now, without the sound, maybe problem.
Yeah. Now it is okay.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
I.
No, you are not audible. Just use the.
Hello.
Now audible.
Hello.
Now you are audible, Dhananjay.
Huh?
Yeah, now it's okay. Yeah.
Hello.
Fine.
I offer my warm thanks with great respect to our beloved resource person, Dr. Hari. Global scenario.
একো শুনা নাই।
I have to join in defend. Hello.
তুমি কাণত ফোন লগোৱা হৈ যাব।
That device is most probably disconnecting in the meantime.
No, input is there, sir. Hello.
এতিয়া হৈছে।
লাহে লাহে কোৱাচোন।
I don't know why it is happening. Sorry. Am I? Hello, Anjam.
Yeah. Now it's okay, but it's disconnecting in the meantime. If it is Bluetooth, then the connectivity problem maybe.
There may be connectivity problem.
Yeah, you just try without the speaker. You just try once without the speaker. Yeah. Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I audible now?
No, clear.
So I would like to offer sincere thanks to Dr. S. Sanjeevi Prasad, Department of Geography, University of Madras, Chennai, for taking a valuable and very informative session on the present situation in India during pandemic and after pandemic, economic situation of our country, and use of modern technology like GIS, remote sensing, etc. in studying ground reality. Sir, we offer a heartfelt thanks to you. I am very pleased to offer bundle of thanks to our respected principal of GOALPARA College, Dr. Subhash Barman sir, for gracing this international webinar and delivered his inaugural speech and closing remark. His dynamic activities with kinetic energy always inspire us for a great academic exercise, and today's webinar is one of them. Thank you, sir, for your very interesting and thoughtful address. I am also very grateful to Dr. Binay Kumar Nath, Honorable President, Governing Body, GOALPARA College, for his valuable speech highlighting some of the sensitive issues arising due to COVID-19, especially in rural India. We are very fortunate to work with him, a person of learned and experienced person who had also served as Director of Higher Education, GOALPARA of Assam. He always highlighting us with visionary suggestions, which has been boosting up our institution towards academic excellence. I also like to acknowledge sincere gratitude to Dr. Siddhinath Sharma, Associate Professor and Head of the Department of Geography, GOALPARA College, for his untiring efforts towards organizing this international webinar. This international webinar is the brainchild of his intellectual endeavor. I sincerely acknowledge the hard work rendered by Madam Hasna Begum Borhuya, Assistant Professor, Department of Geography, and coordinator of this webinar, and offer heartfelt thanks for coordinating the webinar and introducing one of the resource person. Warm thanks also offered to Mr. M.G. Basumatari, Assistant Professor, Department of Geography, GOALPARA College, as Assistant Coordinator of this webinar and introducing one of the resource person in this webinar. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for Dr. Dulal Borua, Coordinator IQAC, GOALPARA College, who has been rendering his all efforts towards every success of the webinar. Without speaking any word, he has been doing his job at his level best. Further, we are also grateful to Dr. Anjam Hussain Borhuya, technical expert, who has been monitoring every second during the webinar, so that the online platform may run very smoothly with a smiling face. I also wish to express my sincere gratitude to all the faculty members of GOALPARA College for their overwhelming support for making grand success of this international webinar. Sincere thanks should be offered to all the esteemed participants of the webinar, without whom the webinar has no meaning. Last but not the least, I would like to acknowledge our gratitude to all the respected personalities who have directly or indirectly linked with the webinar. And if I have forgot to mention someone, I again sincerely offer vote of thanks to them. Sorry for midterm interruption. I thanks to all, and I hand over to mic to Dr. Siddhinath Sharma for formally closing this webinar. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Ranjamedi. Lastly, again, I thanks Dr. Professor A.K. Bhagwati sir for giving us this long, around 2.5 hour time, and Dr. Haruisha Asada and Dr. Sanjeevi Prasad giving your valuable time, and giving thanks to all participants, principal, president, and all others, technical support, IQAC coordinator, Dr. Anjam Hussain Borhuya. Now we should conclude today's this webinar.